What's going on, guys? It's your boy MC Fire coming at you again with another vid for trading. If you're a winner, loser, learner, we got a video for you. We're clocking in so you don't have to. So, what do we have today, man? If you've been watching some of our other videos, we basically kind of broke down that we've been absolutely crushing it this weekend with sticking to our list, and results are to follow. If we just keep up with our power list, things are going to change. So we've got our power list literally right here to prove that we have been on our game. Okay, we work on it every day. They say 5 things a day keeps poverty away. So we are going to definitely tap into that. Within our power list, though, we wrote down some plays that might be useful for you. So we're going to kind of get into that today. If you guys haven't been watching or know what's going on, market's been rallying after a huge dippy. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to look at some gold, look at some TLT, also look at some buys, some sells, and some setups. So I'm kind of excited for what the future holds. I hope you guys are. Let's dive right in and let's go. So due to popular demand, we decided to move our gorgeous face from the bottom right to the bottom left. And because we're doing that, hopefully we don't block too much of the screen. You kind of see what I'm seeing at the end with the indicators and the other signals kind of here at the end of the unbalanced volume, what the prices are, all that good jazz, right? We do listen to any good input. So if you guys have some good things that'll definitely improve the channel, please blast us. But without further ado, we are going to dive right into the juiciest topic that we have. Qs breaking through to new highs. If you know anything about rotation, the Darvis, we kind of have this on here as level training wheels, right? It kind of uses a formula to auto generate. This is completely free. Shout out to Raggy Horner from Simpler Trading. If you guys know what this channel is about, a little bit about this channel background, we are on a journey to see, does all the guru stuff work? Does the books work? Does the personal development work? We're going to keep plugging away at the long guns. We're going to give it about 5 years. And then we're going to say, you know what? Screw all of this. We're going to go and enjoy our life. But if we can accomplish financial freedom in 5 years, which hopefully we accomplish it faster, then awesome. So one of the ways that we do that is investing in ourselves, getting many tools from many different places, keep investing in ourselves, keep learning. Yes, it's expensive, but we've already seen some really, really good results. So we're going to kind of get into some of those results. Some of those results have resulted in us doing financial research. So we're kind of heavily invested in QQQ or QQQM to be specific, but that is all relatively tied to the Q. So seeing this at all-time highs, basically a giant rally from December and kind of been on a train since then. Kind of a brief pause, as you see here, September through basically the end of October, and then kind of kept going. So hats off to the market for maneuvering there. And then in 2023 and 2024, it just kind of kept going. Brief pause here, and then now, congratulations, we're at new highs, right? Really good for the market, really good for those people who are looking for financial equity. If you got in down here, awesome for you. If you're just now tuning in, guess what? We have some plays. Don't worry, this train has already left the station, but there's many to follow. So definitely, if you're looking at the Qs for a weekly buy, I would not recommend it. Even on the daily, we like to buy at the cross of the 8-period moving average above previous week's high. This is kind of this candle, or this candle if you're being super aggressive, which still ends up being that candle, is the buy, right? And because this candle jumps so high, it trumps 1, 2, 3, 4 candles. Yeah, I feel pretty safe that it gives you a buy signal, but you know really quick if it's starting to go against you. If it kind of crosses below that candle, you kind of got an idea like, hey, it's either retracing or it's about to run. So just kind of know what you want to do if you were in back there. But see, it's, several weeks into the future here. So breaking new highs. What does that mean? That really means for those looking for potential buy. I'm going to show you what I would do if I was just absolutely itching to make a move on this. I would not actually get in. I would wait till a retest. Here's your retest, break of high, right? And then potentially look to get in. So hopefully if there's another retest, that would be a solid opportunity to say, okay, let's see what it does at the first itching buy signal on like pretty much any time frame here. I would look to get in. Here's your retest and the buy. So kind of overnight or yesterday, it did do that retest of the high or of the support there. And then your buy, if you were like a scalper or whatever, this is a 10-minute chart. So let's say we go back there, hit the 2-minute chart. And you see this candle right here. Shout out to SMB Capital. It's probably one of the plays we'll go over today. We won't go over all their plays because we have a lot of things to go over as regards to giving you guys some value. But this candle right here, this this engulfing green versus red, is a pretty clear sign. Right? You take the buy, aggressively take the buy after it crosses with a stop out at the low, right? It's pretty straightforward. And then you go sell at 1-to-1 and then sell at 2-to-1 and then pull the rest out at VWAP. We'll get into that here in about 2 shakes. You don't see the VWAP because we're on NDX. NDX doesn't have any volume, right? VWAP is a volume-based indicator. So shout out to whoever made the VWAP. But yeah, that's basically the Qs in a nutshell. NQ to be specific. But the reality is as things approach high, people get a little antsy about buying the highs. Nobody wants to be the guppy, but there's still smart plays at the highs. So that's just something you got to keep in mind. There's still plays to be had at the highs. You don't have to buy the highs, but you do have to be cognizant that there's still potential juice at the highs. So just to think about that. ES is going directly in tandem with that. We'll go back to the weekly here because it makes it a lot more easy for, like, especially for me, and super fluent, right? Get the big picture and then zero down. So again, despite also breaking highs and retesting that previous rotational weekly high, that's really, really good that it kind of tested it. So could we see some follow through? Yes. Could it break back underneath that? Yes. My thinking is that we hopefully tread sideways and then push. The market can do that. Very similar to like right here, it had 1 week of resting at the top of this and then pushing. So you can see that sometimes where nobody wants to be the guppy. Same thing kind of here. It treaded water for about 3 weeks and then a major launch. So you kind of squeeze up here at the top of the range, push, 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 and then some tread water. After 3 weeks of heavy pushing, remember, train's already left the station on the major buy, cross of the 8-period moving average break of high. So as it does that, it pushes up to the highs, basically 3 straight weeks. It would have been a perfect play. We were obviously already invested in the Qs in the SPY. There's no need to really make waves there. The other one we want to take a look at is, let's say, oil, right? The CL. And so for the CL, there's one thing I want to note about the CL right there, and you'll see this later as we break down some of the other setups. The CL is in this rotation here, so I mean, we'll draw that out for you. It's pretty straightforward. That's kind of why I like the training wheels. They kind of point out what the computer sees, so that it helps you navigate the setting up the rotation. It helps you navigate setting up the rotation. That way it's like super clear to you if you're brand new. So like we can kind of hide this if we want to. We can hide that, and there you go. So we can see the rotation. It's not so cluttery there, and it's kind of in the middle of that rotation. So looking for a buy, if let's say for example it crosses above the 8-period moving average 3 weeks, we can look for a push to the 3 ATR. Same thing kind of happened here. You're kind of getting that very similar setup here. The only difference is this is in a kind of a weak uptrend. So in a weak uptrend, we can potentially see this as a buy. We do have our alert there, but we would probably take some off as it approaches highs and take the rest off as it approaches the other end of the rotation. That's just something to think about. Again, you guys, are your own person. I would definitely trade the way you guys trade. I wouldn't necessarily trade the way you guys trade, but I'm telling you, take everything we say as a grain of salt. Education, something to think about. This is not me telling you how to trade. It is empowering you to say, hey, look at this. This might be something that you might like. Awesome stuff. So we'll close that out, and we will look at some of the weekly trades or potential expansion contraction trades. I thought I changed this, but we'll let's actually just go to our playbook here. So we've got lined up. Okay, let's go take a look at the TLT. Bump Lily. We're not going to look at Lily. TLT. Lily's already left the station, right? So just to kind of get where we are in the market, your 20-year, your bonds, right? Your bond ETFs, being able to see that there is rotation, right? But right here, this is a high and this is a higher low. So this could potentially be an aggressive buy, right? You are in a relatively weak downtrend. This would be very aggressive because we're on a downtrend. Typically, we like to buy weak uptrends and strong uptrends. So be careful with that, right? In fact, I would give it a little bit more juice, maybe even up here, to actually commit. Wait till it executes into a strong or stronger uptrend before you kind of commit to that, right? TLT, bond market, 20-year bond, right? It's good to know. Gold, we're going to tap into gold just so you guys can see what has been going on. This is wild. So gold, same thing, highs. It's unusual to see gold and like the market at all-time highs, but people who have money, they're willing to spend it, I guess, in this environment. So gold, SPY, Qs, all at all-time highs. Good stuff for that. Now, unlike the SPY and the Qs, this kind of peekabooed up into the highs. It didn't necessarily break retest. So if we zoom in here, you'll see that, hey, it peekabooed. Let's actually just open up the 10-minute here. It peekabooed up there today, but then it's starting to reject. So that doesn't mean that it won't come up again, because again, it hasn't gone anywhere new. This is kind of at the lows of the previous pivot low. So you can almost, let's say for example, you were looking to like take a scalp trade, or even a day trade. This might be a location where you might look to catch a play, right? If you were going to take a play on this morning, hypothetically, right, you see this range that formed here. As it tightened up, you would say, okay, I see the pre-market range. Actually, we'll put a line in here to help you guys out. So after it hit this pivot high, tested this pivot high, you'd be looking for a break, right? Looking for a break, and then below, I guess 2 candles below is where your stop loss would be, right? So it kind of pulls up, and I guess, you know, where you would pull out, let's say for example, at, you know, VWAP high. So yeah, 2 standard deviations effectively on the high. You could let it go. That's just one way to think about it. Break of the high, it's retesting VWAP, and then it pushes, let it go. Good stuff, right? That is gold. So gold's at highs, but just something to think about. If it bounces, it could be a potential buy. Just keep in mind that you need to wait for your confirmation, wait for your trade signal to execute. Okay, don't rush into anything. It's not good. Bitcoin. Now we're gonna tap into the ETF here. Take a look at this bad boy, and we'll actually go back to the weekly, right? So this is the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF. I get alerts on my phone saying Bitcoin hit like relative highs, and sure enough, like clockwork, some Bitcoin. So like from the ETF, we didn't actually get full disclosure, we didn't actually get Bitcoin, but we do like participating in the action of the ETF. So got some shares here, like, and what I want you guys to see is I love our mentors. Shout out to Brian Lena. I love our mentors system for teaching like the simple duality of the market. You're on a weekly chart, above the 8-period moving average, buy above previous week's high. So here, right here, good really juicy position to buy. When you look at it on this chart, it's like, man, that's a really good position to buy. Sized in a little bit more as it pushed. And then the huge rally came. As we saw it start stacking here, we actually bought more shares. And then coming out of here, we actually bought more shares. And it's already kind of pushing. So things to think about, like you keep like averaging. Some people say average in, right? But I like to just tweak it a little bit and just not just average in for the sake of averaging in, but average in on like a buy trigger. So what does that mean? So let's say, for example, it was coming on the way down, right? You could see this as a potential buy trigger setting up, right? And then as it sells back, right, you don't really get another buy trigger. Some people would say, oh, I'll take this as at lows, but there's no buy trigger. There's no fall through. You don't have to be like dead perfect. You don't have to get the perfect high because there's no buy trigger on the rules. So as it comes down here, the next time you don't even really get a buy trigger until maybe right here. You don't get a buy trigger until maybe right there. And the next time you get a buy trigger is right here. So even if you're averaging in on the way down, wait for the buy triggers because you could probably catch a better price, right? Set the money to the side, be disciplined, or look for a better opportunity. Nothing wrong with that at all. So like that's something to keep in note as we look back on this Bitcoin over the course of a couple years. Where we bought is still in line. We knew we wanted to be a buyer of Bitcoin, an ETF, and particularly that is the play. It's still using your setup strategically over long periods of time to still catch really good prices. So good buy here, great buy here, even better buy here, and decent buy here because it's pushing out of the gate after that buy. It's a little late, but better late than never. Well, not necessarily always. We've got some cool plays coming up here as regards to what we have. And remembering back to that CLE trade, like that energy trade, this is kind of in a like slowly advancing, like very long-term trend play, right? This is in the middle of 2022 going through to 2025, constantly making higher highs, right? Steadily in its rotations. So I feel pretty confident that now that it's over this giant resistance, it broke, retested. As it breaks above, XLE could be a very, very juicy buy. And with the catalyst, I'll show you COP, XOM, that bodes well for the same play, right? It's kind of at highs. If you look at it to push out of that high, COM, COP, also, if it pushes, right, it's kind of in relative highs. But it kind of keeps that same theme. It's kind of rotating, bouncing upwards, bumping up against this like phantom resistance, right? And we can establish, let's see if we can help you guys out see that. So I'm going to pull up, let's go weighted XLE components. Boom. Okay. Take a quick chart of seeing what the whole sector is doing. Seeing how we're looking in double green territory. So WMB absolutely rocking. OKE absolutely rocking. XOM is a little bit more heavily weighted, and COP is a little bit more heavily weighted. So that XOM could carry us through. PXD also double green, kind of resting like that. So with all these guys stacking in good relative strength, there is some laggards here, but I feel like with the way the whole sector's moving and a heavily weighted one looking to push, you could see XLE actually like raise the other boats, being the tide in the energy sector that raises these boats. Okay, so it's a good look for the energy sector for sure. What do we got here? We also on the sell. Oh, let me not forget that guy, AMD. So AMD is kind of lagging the rest of the market, but doesn't necessarily mean you can't get a good deal, right? So at $166 a share. Wouldn't necessarily be looking to buy that. Not going to get a lot of leverage. But if it can break above the 21 period moving average, it's already above the 8 period moving average, but it needs to break its previous week's high and push a little bit more for us to be super comfortable, like 1%, maybe 0.5% upwards, right? Kind of get into the middle of this rotation to show, yeah, you're gonna complete the rotation, right? We want to get out of the danger zone. So AMD, maybe there's some life there. It is in a relatively weak. It's the 21 period moving average is upsloping, but I can't even call it a weak uptrend because it's not even above the 21 period moving average, right? So it's just something to think about. It isn't a weak downtrend. It's not even a downtrend at all. It's just kind of neutral. So AMD, if you're looking to be aggressive, I would still wait till at least it crosses the 21 period moving average on the weekly chart. And let's see what it looks like on the daily. So on the daily, right, if you're looking to day trade it, strong, actually really strong buy trigger. You've got the 21 period moving average kind of blending upwards with a nice juicy little cross here. And this candle kind of breaks above this little flat, like janky bull flag right here. As it goes above that, it kind of breaks out. So that was your buy trigger right there. But again, it's not really on the radar because it's in a weak downtrend. Like all of this is what preceded it. So that was actually its first sign of life that first day, and then some follow through. Really, probably would have been good for a day trade. Maybe you hold it for 1, maybe 2 days for it to hit that 3 ATR or break rotation, but no more than that, and it's sketchy at best. Speaking of sketchy buys, let's go take a look at our handy dandy Seattle favorite, Boeing. Yes, Boeing. Don't get caught flying out of an airplane. It's not going to be a good look. But your boy Boeing is actually looking like a buy. It's weird. And why do I say that, right? Although the unbalanced volume is negative, it is uptrending. It is expanding positively. And you've got a cross of the 8 period moving average and a cross above previous week's high. So, yeah, Boeing is in a very strong, going out of a strong downtrend, going into a weak downtrend. But the reality is if you know anything about like catastrophes and markets, catastrophes are, what does Warren Buffett say? When there's blood in the streets, you buy. Well, Boeing's is not exactly on everyone's Christmas list, if you know what I mean. But I believe that as a company, they're still going to pump out planes with all their government contracts, and they're still going to be able to, they still have plenty of planes on back order that they have to fill. So because of that, this could potentially be a buy if they can get their act together. So yeah, but super sketchy buy. Okay, don't go out here and just bet the farm on Boeing for sure. Don't do that. Although we like them, right? On the sell side, though, let's go take a look at your boy Tesla. Elon, what's going on, buddy? Right? So another thing to notice, right? Shout out to our mentor, kind of Brian Ledda. This is kind of around the time when we learned about rolling options, and this buy was actually a really pivotal buy to boost our confidence in what our mentor had taught us, right? Making things super simple, stop overcomplicating it, give your trades time to run, and when they do run, stay in the uptrend as long as possible. And that's kind of what happened here. We got the buy trigger above the 8 period moving average. Definitely a buy there. So then the next week, we were about a week late, but we got in, and actually it coincided with a very long trend break. So we felt really confident in kind of picking that up. And they just had okay earnings, right? They had okay earnings. But yeah, it broke 3 weeks. We were rolling the option because we didn't know. I was like, yo, sir, this option contract is at like 175%. He's like, roll it. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, yeah, pull some money off the table and move your strikes up. And I was like, okay, so if you don't know about rolling options, definitely as a tactic, I believe that for people who are looking to do options for capital, that's good because you can, if it moves in your favor, you can stay in the play almost like you own the stock, but still pull money out of the table. So it's like a win-win. And you had defined risk to begin with, so it's a win-win-win. I think rolling options makes this anyone's game if you can catch a good uptrend, and taking longer trends almost like an investment as opposed to like getting in, getting out quickly. That is probably the fastest way to make money in this thing, but it's not the most effective if you have a job. So catching swings and catching them on a weekly chart as opposed to a daily chart, way more profitable. It's like you're surfing a wave, right? You don't want to fight it. So this wave kind of picked up. We rolled. Each one of these dots is a place where we rolled, and we got out here. Now, against my mentor's which he said try to stay in the uptrend as long as possible. I was like, oh, it's a 3 ATR, I need to sell it, right? As opposed to listening to him, rolling it. 1 week it would have been down, 2, 3, it would have been above its previous, and probably would have been closing out on this week, right? And then let's say we took our profits off the table, maybe rolled it again, it would have, closed for a loss. But could have got more out of that position as opposed to maybe another 100 to 200% for that rolled option. So shout out to our mentor. Listen to your mentors. And the other potential sell. Okay, so why is this a sell now? For a very pretty straightforward reason. Very defined week downtrend, but it's been in a defined week downtrend for a minute. What's a little disconcerting though is you have this like shakeout candle where this whole week it went down and buyers basically pushed it up. That is actually a very bullish candle. So I would need for it to break close below this or just break below this again for me to say, okay, those buyers are on the wrong side of this thing. Maybe not all of them, but a good percentage of them are, for you to take that sell, right? People see a deal, right, and you could potentially be seeing a very juicy head and shoulders pattern taking place. So it's anyone's ball game. No one really has a crystal ball in these things. But I looking at this, it is a sell, but it's not necessarily a sell. Just watch it, dude. Like, let's go look at let's go take a peek on the daily. Again, still really choppy. It's not necessarily something we want to just grip a hold of and ride, but the reality is, it is potentially setting up for a buy on the daily, right? You got a very, very weak uptrend. You made a higher high, right? And a higher low. So conventional wisdom says as it sets up in this range, this break is a buy. Call it for what it is. On the daily, it is a buy, right? But even with it being a buy, that still only means it's going to be like 1, 2, maybe 3 days in the buy, maybe approach the 3 ATR level, okay? But let's say it breaks down, then it breaks down, even breaks rotation, you could see it testing lows. So it could go either way. Those are my buys and sells for today. You guys, I hope if you like this, run it back. Now, one thing I do know is we had some really good, really juicy picks for the week, right? And one of the things we did in our picks was we went to Tom Sosnoff's portfolio balancing, but we also did a virtual training with S&B Capital, and they dropped some huge nuggets. Actually, they gave a lot of value for what we would perceive, like I perceive as a lot of value, because most of the time you don't see guys on this caliber on the floor in the New York Stock Exchange, or on the floor, not on the New York Stock Exchange, but like basically on Wall Street. In New York, those guys are some of the cream of the crop when it comes to training their brand, the newest members, newest traders up to a professional level, right? And they released some of their cheat sheets. So I actually want to kind of bring that over to you guys. I don't know why it won't actually let me do that. It won't actually let me drag it, as is very interesting. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Get this somewhat small. Why are you being weird? It's being mad weird. Like it wants to play ball, but it doesn't want to play ball. Okay, cool. That works. Super sorry, guys. So, long story short, they dropped some pretty cool nuggets on everybody, and they have their kind of their plate, like their cheat sheet for 5 plays. Now, I don't think I'm gonna get in trouble showing you this again. Don't. This is what they provided absolutely free. So, like at the end of their course, they provided these things, and it basically gives you a like playlist on how to set up certain plays, where to enter, where to exit, what you're looking for, all that stuff. Now, really, it's attached to their scanner to be able to find these. It finds it for you, but the reality is I was really impressed by what they did. You can like it's up here. You can look it up if yourself because it is out there, open on the web. But yeah, they absolutely crushed it. My favorite was the fashionably late because we had already had the setup on the 2-minute chart to look at the VWAP and basically the whole. It's very close to the 9-period moving average. That's what they use. And then you have the second chance scalp cheat, right? I really like that because what it says is if something breaks a major level and it starts to test that level, then on the break it can run, right? And you're looking to take some off when it hits peak high, take a little off there, and then when it closes below the 9-period moving average, take the rest off. So I was like, man, that actually is a really good play. You're catching the confirmation of momentum based off of that very basic concept. Resistance becomes a new support. So once it proved that it's the new support, that's when you buy. I think that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant of them to provide those things to you guys. So those are like my 2 favorite. There's a rubber band. Hitchhiker's pretty good, but in my opinion, the best one was one that's attached to fundamentals. So the Hitchhiker is really smooth because they said, okay, at consolidation with the break, right? You take the break, stop out at the low, right? And then the moving averages are tight to the VWAP anyway. So very similar to the squeeze. Shout out to John Carter. So it breaks. You take like a 1-to-1 off, and then you take a 2-to-1 off, and you're basically done. Or 3-to-1, whatever, right? Really good stuff. I highly recommend. If you want the cheat sheets, there they are at the URL. Again, they drop these at the end of their training. They're on the web. It's not hidden. I literally just went to the web and pulled them up myself, right? So, guys, I hope you guys have gotten a lot of value from these videos, and I appreciate you guys tapping in with us on our trading journey. Q is back there working really hard, being an absolute beast child. She's small, but she's got a big heart, right? She's gonna do some really cool things. You guys can't see her, but she's smiling right now, beaming from ear to ear. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's your boy MC Fire coming at you with another blasting video. We love you guys. Have a good day and goodbye.